What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Bushwick Bears Petty Crime Review. Today on the podcast, we're talking sex work.
You know who has two thumbs and loves sex work? This guy.
As is our guests today. That's right. We have a guest. Our first one ever to help us out. It's Ian Fidance. Why is it even a crime? Everybody likes sex. Everybody likes work. You put it together, it's a petty crime. Let's find out.
Holy shit. Welcome to the Bushwick Bears Petty Crime Review, guys. How's it going? How's everyone feeling?
Going good. We got our guest this week, Ian Fidance, the first guest of the
Oh,
Petty
no
Crime
way.
Review podcast.
Yeah, you're the initial guest.
Oh, wow, I'm honored.
Inaugural. I don't know. I can't speak.
Yeah.
And the perfect guests for the perfect petty crime. We're talking sex work.
Sex work.
Some say it should be no crime at all.
It is. I mean, they all say it's the oldest profession, the first profession.
Since when is working a crime?
You know?
Or fucking.
Yeah.
Right? I don't. So the guy, Derek and Boris, are such sweet boys. They said they don't have a lot of experience with this one. I personally am a huge fan of sex workers. Have been for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Ian, you ever indulge in?
Well, we were talking about this before, and you know, you and I have both indulged in sex work. You know, I think, you know, for different reasons. You know, mine is more for love of the game. I feel that yours is more, you know, out of a circumstantial.
No, I like the convenience. I like the convenience and the discretion of sex work.
Yes.
So yours is for the act of it, but it's neither of you. It's out of desperation.
No, well,
Not yet,
I mean,
not
I think
yet,
desperation
anyway.
definitely goes into it.
Okay.
You know,
Well, that's why I'm surprised I never turned to it.
I'd imagine there's also a difference between like long-term desperation where you just can't get laid and short-term desperation where you just horny at the moment and you want it now.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're walking down the street. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and you've been at the bar all night. And a woman of the night comes up to you and is like, "Hey, will you give me $40 and I will suck your dick?" That's never happened to you?
You know, it hasn't, and I'm not going to be so presumptuous as to say that I would definitely have said no if it had.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like if it was thrown in my lap, I don't know.
There's something to me about like that situation where neither of us necessarily want to be there. I have an extra $40, and she is going to do her best to complete the task as fast and efficiently as possible just to get on with it.
Yeah, and when you're at a McDonald's, neither of you necessally want to be there either.
100%,
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully she was paid $15 an hour at minimum.
Well,
okay. So, I mean, speaking of, I encompass both short-term and long-term desperation, and I was such a little like Catholic boy. I was scared to like go through that act of it. Like, was that ever like a thing like looming over? Because like all these crimes that we talk about, they're all like they're more moral than they are like socially impactful. I think like sex work is probably important to some degree because we might have more serial killing fucking pent up pieces of shit out there.
that's one of the arguments, right? That like in a place like Amsterdam, the crime rate is really low.
Because everybody's getting a nut off.
Yeah, because they can go and just pay €50 to have sex with someone way out of their league. I know because I've done it many times.
Oh, you've gone over there and
Yeah, that was my favorite.
I support American workers. I support American economy. I don't outsource my jobs, but
is there like a West Village culture about sex work, or are you more like high side of the highway?
I'm more like motel room, whatever app I can use.
It's an app form now.
Well, there was Backpage,
yeah.
but Craigslist for a while, and that was real scary because you were always worried about getting like beat up or robbed.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's why they took it down, right? Is a couple of people got murdered.
Oh, people were getting murdered all the time.
Yeah, so
But
they
then
got
a
rid
lot
of
of
it.
sex workers said that it was to detriment because it made it more dangerous.
Well, that's what happened with Giuliani, is that Times Square was the epicenter of the tricks and treats of the nighttime streets,
Right.
and that was almost like a safe communal area for the sex workers and for gay men. And there was like this local economy and community of people at, you know, the jerk shacks. And then when he got rid of that, it pushed them to the outskirts of town where their safety was at risk. There was a lot more.
But
kind
there's
of
an M&M store
seediness.
now.
I know.
Yeah. Well,
Which-
I mean, that's it. Well, I mean, if we're talking about like in the nature of like it being a crime, I as an adult can never really, even though I morally don't agree with going through with the act, I don't understand.
Of sex?
We get it. Your wife
Right,
listens
right.
to the podcast.
No,
Yeah.
This is,
He's just not getting it, and he's like, "It's morally wrong."
So what you're saying? Never in the Navy. All your travels in the Navies, you never fucking
You are a Navy
got
man
a
known
Humvee.
for
I
being.
had a girlfriend in the Navy for part of it.
She's not
So
your girlfriend
what?
anymore.
People are married in prison. They're still fucking.
Right. Well, sometimes by choice too, but like, it was a thing where it was like I grew up super religious, and
Me too.
And I had my girlfriend, and I just wasn't going to like violate that or violate
Right,
my
right.
moral ethics. Now that I'm older, I'm married. I'm like, man, where are the hookers at? I mean, I
Yeah.
get it. It's like after a
Twitter.
while, it's like if you're just like, right. That's why I go on the Bears Twitter, and then.
I noticed that history when
But
I
also,
looked at
like,
it.
it's societally, I don't understand. Like, if you're a fucking adult with another consenting adult, it's nobody else's business.
Totally no one else's business.
No, yeah,
And-
the fact that it's illegal is shocking to me.
Right. It's still like this weird puritanical aspect that we have about
Yeah, I hate that shit.
Also, I feel that sex workers do such a justice towards furthering a relationship because I feel that there's a lot of we live in a very puritanical society. There's a lot of shame associated with certain sex acts, and it forces people because of lack of communication, fear of shame, guilt, to not enact to not act out those fantasies in a relationship. So having a sex worker helps you get that out of your system. And I know that if you've ever strayed or whatever, it makes you a better partner because you're like,
yeah, you get it out of your system.
I love you, babe. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
you, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like it would be so much better for relationships if you had that outlet, because sometimes people aren't comfortable with certain activities that are a healthy part of our existence.
This is
I couldn't
exactly what
agree
I'm telling
more.
My wife.
Yeah.
Why I'm cheating.
Yeah. I mean, I truly feel that. And
This
I
isn't even a real episode. It's just a tape to show Derek's wife.
Look, babe, I told
yeah,
you.
yeah. No,
only
I
act
feel,
I want.
and also it's so mutually beneficial because, you know, you're the sex worker is helping whomever act out this thing that they can't get in their normal life, and you're paying U.S. currency for labor. You know, so it's
right,
like,
yeah,
what is
yeah.
so bad about that? If someone is willing to do a job, why is that job illegal?
Now, see, that's the problem that I have. You're supporting the fiat system. You should be paying Bitcoin for your pussy.
I don't know what fiat is. I just
US
thought it was
currency.
a shitty car. Oh, okay.
See,
It is a shitty car.
did they have prostitution in Russia?
They have prostitution
they
everywhere.
must.
I
Yes.
imagine it was like it got divvied up among everybody.
That's what
Like
most
that.
prostitutes are, Russian. Are you kidding me?
No,
Have you
true,
ever?
They're hot. I mean,
No, in Amsterdam, some of the best looking ones, they're all Russian or Ukrainian.
Yeah.
And so when I went to Amsterdam, I thought I wasn't gonna be able to afford it, and I was a little nervous. But it's so open. You just walk around. It's like you're window shopping, right? Like,
I know.
literally.
Oh, yeah.
It's so great. But like when I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and I got worried about like getting robbed, all these scary things, or like what's gonna happen. This girl peeked her head out and was like, come here, come talk to me. And she was totally Russian, and she was gorgeous. And I went in, and it cost 50 euros, and I had so much fun. I was like, can I just go again? So she's like, absolutely. So I gave her another 50. I just went
That's
again.
awesome.
And then when I left there's so many options. I went 4 times that night.
Yes.
Because I was like, I had saved up. I had $300.
Money or cum?
Well, I have, especially when I was 30, I had just an excess supply of cum. I had to get out. I was a monster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. So you mentioned you were fearful of getting robbed. When you decriminalize this activity, it makes the act safer for the Johns and the tricks.
Right, you can rely on the existing. I mean, it's the same.
Yes,
thing with
and
drugs.
also totally, and also
Yeah.
at the same time, you're investing in a system that gives these sex workers a place to go to get health care, a safe haven, an actual ecosystem for them to exist. And drug addiction goes hand in hand with prostitution, unfortunately. And if you help these people, it's going to only improve the economy because then they're going to be able to afford teeth. and chapstick and like tit jobs, which is going to make healthcare going to make more men and people invest in this community. So it's only going to grow. And I just hate this fucking stupid fucking world we live in where Janet Jackson gets shamed for showing a tit, and then they're like, okay, next on the news, murder.
But it does feel like a catch-22, right? Because let's say you create this world where it's not associated with drug use. Let's say, like in the hypothetical, you just create a better world in general. Are non-broken women gonna go into prostitution?
Yeah,
non-broken women are going into OnlyFans right now. Look at the world of pornography. It's no longer coming from a broken home. It's a girl that's like, I've always wanted to do it, and, you know, I'm hot and young. Why not?
Maybe. Although I would say OnlyFans is different than being a hooker, right?
Yeah, but
it's
it's 2 steps away.
I guess, but they're not 2 steps like forward in terms of like self-actualization, are they? Like, is anybody?
Here's my thing: is that I feel like
is anyone becoming a hooker if they have like the world as their oyster?
Here's the thing. So the word sex worker encompasses now being a stripper, being a fucking OnlyFans
right, it's a broad
person.
term.
I do not like that. I think you're really taking a leap to be like, yeah, I finger myself on OnlyFans. I'm a sex worker,
right? And you're potentially like steal. You know, you could be like a viral. There was a whole feud between strippers and like Instagram hoes recently because they weren't even stripping, but they were like
are fucking
waitering.
Instagram butt models sex workers. Like what is the fucking line? And also, like, you're not really working, you're just like interning basically.
Well, with no it's like you're showing your pussy on the internet, but you're not like, there's a lot of, takes away a lot of the danger and risk that an actual prostitute
blue collar
has.
I'm old school. I really like the fucking, you know, pull yourself up by the bootstraps on her bridge mentality and like
that's why we need
working with the pros.
UBI, like universal booby investment.
And
it starts at home, and Derek shows his tits.
Well, so I mean, we're talking about the criminal aspect of it. Have you ever been caught soliciting?
No.
Oh, Jericho, have you?
No, never been caught.
So we are scot free.
Yeah, but why don't we come back to you about what you said about women doing it? Is when I remember in Tucson, there was a group of women that I knew, and I didn't realize this at the time. I found out because I started seeing one of them, like just actually dating one, and it turns out that they were all crazy feminists, like hardcore college educated feminists, and they started prostituting as a way to like express their feminism. And it was like, they're like, no, we have power.
Cool.
We're taking.
Just say you want to make money.
Right.
I mean, yes. But I'm saying they were all like kind of, none of them were, they all were educated and they came from good places.
They chose, but that doesn't mean they're not a little.
Well, I mean, it was I remember having sex with her and for the first time, and it was like so good. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But I was like, oh, I just hit the
jackpot. Did Gloria Steinem teach you that?
I mean, there's something to be said about having a few screws loose to have sex for money and to couch it in this like empowering whatever thing. And I'm saying that from my own experience of where I'll talk about, you know, being with men and trans women very flagrantly and being like, well, I think it's important. It's like, no, like I'm mentally ill. Like I very much admit to that.
Right,
like
right.
I am a filthy mouthed pervert with a heart of gold.
Well, so that's my question though. That's the catch-22 is that, yes, I agree. It should be legal in an ideal world. It should be as safe as possible for everyone to do. It should be as little stigmatized. But in that world where is anyone choosing to be a hooker in a world where they have all the options in the world otherwise?
Well, the end result, though, is like I think what you really want
how much
is
money are you going to make?
If you destigmatize all of this and conditions become safer.
You flood the market.
And, well, no, not only... Well,
that's what's happening now with OnlyFans.
Right. Ideally, you want people to not be hookers. You want people to be so sexually free that they can not have to have that level of transaction.
Also seems true.
Right. So you would think removing the veil of that stigma about that would be like, hey, we as a society have to acknowledge this aspect of us as people.
But you know what? I will say that there is fundamentally a difference between, even if it's casual sex, and sex that's transactional. Right? Like, I think it's inevitable that... Well, I think it's inevitable that you might develop feelings.
I think transactional sex is absolutely necessary in a...
but it's
regular,
different, right?
It's totally different, but almost it's better in a way, and you're being more honest and not wasting someone's time, because at its base, a lot of people are on apps to fuck.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you have to lie and give the rigmarole under this false pretense of, let's date.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Right.
When transactional sex is, we both know the score, let's do this, goodbye.
Right.
And I think that is
Yeah.
way more fair to whomever you're involved in than stringing someone along with the end game of getting sex and then ghosting someone.
And it's just more honest because even if you're on
Without a
apps where
doubt.
both people say they want to hook up, somebody very often
You can
changes their
even-
mind.
but-
Yeah. I
You-
can't even tell you how many times I've had to tell women they're funny just to sleep with them.
But you could say the same thing, Boris, about a garbage man, right? You could think that anybody.
Go on.
No, but like you're like,
What?
do you think any person that
Hookers
has
are
given
garbage
every
men.
that you could give any
They do deal
any
with a lot of
person-
trash.
right? Exactly. But you're like any person, let's say a man who's brought up and given every opportunity in life, is he going to choose to be a garbage man?
Yes, dude. Do you know how much money garbage
make a
men
lot of
make and the
money.
benefits? When I was teaching school, so many kids, their number one job, like quest, was to be a sanitation worker, and that is the most backed
job
up.
of the city, yeah.
Aside from union carpenters, that is the longest waiting period for a civil
That's
service
true.
job.
A lot of nepotism.
It is
Well, that's
it,
something
it
that-
is
maybe that
a
answers my
massively
question.
beneficial job, and I feel like if you enjoy sex, why not get paid for it if you can? But here's the thing:
Might it ruin it though?
women sex workers are infinitely the demand for women sex workers is way more high for women than men, and it
yeah.
is a thing where there will never be equality, where men sex workers will never ever be, and they'll be laughed out of the room.
Yeah.
As opposed to women's
A,
sex.
That
a
happened to me.
gigolo. A juggalo.
Gigolo. Juggalo. See, we don't even know, you know?
It's an ICP fan.
Well, 'cause Deuce
It's a
Bigelow.
clown showing
I
up
don't
to
know.
fuck you. Wicked clowns.
No, it's a fireman when he shows up, and then he takes it off, and it's a juggalo underneath.
Worst
I-
birthday party
That's the
ever.
funny thing is like I never thought about it as much. I just always liked having fun and the experience of living life as fast as possible.
Well, yeah, I
And I
used
also like
to.
get my dick sucked.
I'm in retirement. The way I used to live, I no longer engage in. You know, I can respect it, but it's just not for me anymore. I'm an old man, and the promiscuity of my life, a lot of it was in tandem with my mental illness of bipolar.
Right.
A big part of bipolar is acting out in very dangerous ways, and one of them for me was sexual. So I would seek out these behaviors that were incredibly unsafe because I got off on the situations that I was in. So, and also a big part of it was getting so high, as I would do all this sober. I mean, I did it drunk and high, but
Yeah.
I did
Right,
a
yeah.
lot of it sober, and a lot of it was I would get so high from incredible sets, I would want to keep it rolling, and I couldn't do drugs or drink anymore, so I would get prostitutes. On the other hand, I would be so low that I needed to feel, so I would get prostitutes. And then the Catholic shame and guilt associated with that would make me do it again to make that go away. And in the moment, I would not think about it and be robotic and fuck. And then I would come and feel so much shame, I'd have to do it again.
Did you ever annoy a prostitute because you were like, man, you should have seen me kill earlier tonight? Oh my God, it was so good.
Bro, I am very much a sex and love addict, and I would get prostitutes on the phone to negotiate and then go, listen, I have a problem. I can't do this. And they would berate me for wasting their time, which would get me even harder. And I ended up fucking a hooker because she berated me for wasting her time. And she's like, you need to pay me, at least come hang out. And I was like, I'll hang out. And I gave her money. We hung out. And she was like, what are you here? You want to fuck me? And I was like, okay. And I didn't even want to do it.
One thing that I was reading about, though, too, with the whole sex worker thing is that sex workers are being used in some instances to relieve, like, people who are born severely neurological atypical.
What does that mean?
Like autism?
Like severe autism, like Down syndrome, that sort of thing. And these are, like, people, they still, like, have needs, and they try to express that they have needs, right?
Right.
If you can have Down syndrome to some degree.
Right.
And you're still, like,
You still get a boner.
Yeah, and well, also you can still communicate that need. It doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you're completely.
Is that abusive from the sex worker's point of view?
Well, the sex workers. What do you mean? Like, if they're not forced to, they can say no to having sex with a retarded.
Like,
guy.
Right.
can a Down syndrome person consent? I
Yeah,
would say,
yeah, yeah,
I would
that's
say
the thing.
yes. I would say they can.
That's when the
Oh,
Yeah,
Almost
but they
offensive.
might think that they're coloring. So it's like, what are they consenting
well, no,
to?
because I mean, like,
It's all the same color, though.
I mean, like from what I've read, I mean, like there's like there's obviously a level of consent and sign off from the caretaking structure that person has in place, right? And then you have like who
God,
else?
they
is gonna,
deserve a Medal of Honor.
right?
These
Exactly.
poor
Who
women.
else is
Oh my
going to do
God.
that? And it's like, well, you have to sit there and pay. Like you're gonna have to pay somebody this labor to do this, or else this person who. I mean, you could have aborted and prevented them from having to live this miserable life. Is not ever
Right.
going to fucking get off. And
Right.
what is that? But like
That's
a
even
living
more cruel.
what a living hell that would be.
I knew.
I'm stupid looking and I get off. Why don't they get to?
This is a terrible comparison, but I almost compare it to euthanasia. In the sense that, like, it's also a need that's a dark part of society that people look down upon is assisted suicide, and it's illegal in many cases, but it's
But
a
it
thing where
should be
people are
legal.
suffering.
Without a doubt.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
The biggest assisted suicide doctor in the country right now is named Derek Humphrey.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Really?
out of
Oh, it's
Denver,
not you.
Colorado.
That's
That's
so
not a
funny.
joke.
I think you're
That's
making
so-
a weird joke.
Dude,
I swear
that's
to God,
so
out of
funny that
Denver.
you say that because whenever I talk to you, I want to kill myself. So that's like so perfect.
So there's something in it. I wish that I can't imagine like
We had a sex worker on the show, so it wasn't just four white guys being like, "Here's the thing."
I wish that I was sober on a couple of times that I got a sex worker. After that Budweiser thing, so I had all this money. And
What?
I was in like a Budweiser commercial.
Fuck
a
yeah,
campaign.
dude. Nice.
So I got a bunch of money. It's the most money I'd ever had. And I was at a strip club for a friend's bachelor party, and I went into the back secret room, the room where you go to have sex.
Where they only allow the Budweiser guys.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
But I was back there, and actually, it was in Mexico, right? There was a little bit of a language gap, and this woman was beautiful. We were hitting off. I was so drunk. I went back. I paid the money, went back there, and I couldn't get it up. Like no matter how anything
Right.
either of us tried, I couldn't get it up. And she grabbed my nuts, right? And she was like. She was very sweet about everything, because like when you're in a relationship with a woman and you can't get it up, she takes it personally and is an asshole to you.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But she was being very sweet and she was trying and nothing was working. Eventually, I just was like, sit down. Let's
Can
just
I
hang
give you a
out."
little life hack?
Yeah.
Have her eat your ass.
Oh, no.
That'll
get you going
fucking
right
rooster crow you right awake, buddy.
I just didn't know how to say that in Spanish.
Ah, yes.
Como mi culo.
Yeah, yeah.
But she was
I think that means talk to my butt.
Talk to my devil.
Hello, how are you?
Like, I am very hard.
But she grabbed my nuts and she was holding them and kind of like massaging them. She was like, "Ooh, mas leche."
Like more milk?
I mean, that's the direct translation.
Wow.
She was trying to be sweet. Said I had big balls.
Oh, that's so nice.
I'm glad that translated over.
Wow,
So
thanks.
I asked one of my friends.
That's
I
a
was like,
long walk around the block to tell us you got big nuts.
I got
but
big ass
thanks.
nuts. What can I say?
I'm rich and I have big balls. Anyway,
I was rich at this moment. At that moment.
dude. I don't know. I think.
I want to
forget
pay a
what I was
woman
gonna
to
say.
tell me that she enjoys my company.
That's another thing. I have another friend who this was in New York.
Can I? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So many men get sex workers just to talk
right.
Yeah.
and have someone give them relationship advice or be nice or like motherly.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Or look at things from a different perspective.
Totally.
Unlike your bitch wife.
A ton of sex workers are not. It's not even sex. It's like people wanting some sort of connection they're
Wanna
not
hang
getting
out,
elsewhere
Right,
in their
yeah,
life.
yeah.
And they must actually be like skilled. They deal with so many dudes. They're not just fucking. They must actually have skills built up from the experience of having to
Totally.
deal with these characters. They
Totally.
probably have good senses of like who's going to be a creep, who's potentially dangerous.
Totally.
Well, there was a girl. There was a woman that I was kind of seeing here, here in New York, and we dated for like 6 months. It didn't work out, and late one night, early one morning, I'm like on Instagram, and all of a sudden I noticed she's got this apartment in the West Village, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so happy to be living by myself." Yes, she was a comic, and yes, it's her. I know I can give you that look.
No.
I'm telling you.
I wasn't thinking that at all. I was like, I know where the story goes, but sorry.
But I'll tell you later. But I'm looking at her Instagram, and I'm like, she's like, I'm so happy to finally have my own apartment. I'm in the West Village. It's a beautiful apartment. And I tried to text her. I was like, did someone die? How'd you get this money? And she was very honest. She's like, actually, I just started being an escort. And I was like,
dude, that's
awesome.
why I never want to. I have friends that have started to make $30,000 a month off OnlyFans, and I never want to hear another fucking complaint about the wage gap again, because it is all about being a go-getter and fucking making it work.
Get yours.
And men will never make that as much money as
in
a
the
prostitute.
STEM fields or wherever.
Yeah.
Unless you're
fucking-
Mateo Lane. Like,
yeah,
like you're not a
he
dude
is
who's
so
gonna get
hot.
that
well,
kind
he's
of-
done
Good-looking
more
guy.
squats than
He's
all
an
of us put
Adonis.
together.
Yeah,
And he's earned it too. You know, he clearly works out a lot.
yeah. It's all about how hard you want to work for what
Exactly.
you get. You know.
No, but that's what one of the things she was, because I just was like, I want to know everything. And
It's so
I'm a
interesting.
logistics guy too. I want to know the details. And she told me, she was like, I got this, this dude, I just came over. We take a shower and he cries while I hold him. I mean, he's an older guy that has a shitload of money. And I was like, whoa, that's intense. Yeah. And like, fucking, and just, all the stories about like, he's like, she did have sex with plenty of them, but there were so many stories about dudes that just want to hang out or like, want to feel special or important. That's not me. I just want to blow.
I mean, when they say sex work is work, that is fucking work.
That's
Right.
work.
It's not
Yeah.
just fucking and sucking. That
It's a
is
lot of
fucking
emotional
a
labor.
job. Yeah.
Yeah,
But also, I mean, what a way to just clock in and clock out too. You know?
Well, you might end up like taking your work home with you in unintended ways in that regard.
totally,
Like, I mean,
yeah.
like that's
every
always-
job has its risk.
Right. I just like that you admitted that there was a woman comic who started doing well, and you're like, how is this possible? Like, it cannot be through the means of which I know you. I would assume they're doing good in comedy.
I mean,
I know she has a Gotham Live set, but that can't be paying for this apartment.
Let's not knock that. Did it a couple
I
times.
love your set, Paul Hooper.
I love Paul. He could be a
love
fucking
Paul.
escort. He
I
is
could- I
hot.
Oh yeah, Paul's ripped.
God damn.
yeah, that's.
But here's
six
the,
pack.
I don't know, like, God bless sex workers for having to like fuck the ugliest, grossest men. I mean, you're cut from a different cloth. I don't think I could be a sex worker and just fuck anyone.
Right.
Or like
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't think I could get it up for like a 400-pound
Well,
woman
that's-
or like a man with skin tags or something.
But what's crazy is,
You know?
But you also have those sex workers like the Elliot Spitzer ones that are like, the top. They're
Hot
actually
as shit.
they're actually fucking like attractive rich dudes that just want somebody they can pay to fuck and not have to have any other responsibilities towards.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like getting to the top. You got to
But
start
dude,
somewhere.
there
and work
are
your way
so
up.
many hot women that will legitimately put on Twitter, I'm into Findom, pay me. And guys will Venmo them $5,000 and she'll be like, don't talk to me until I need money again. And they're like, yes, queen. And they just don't. It is like, guys, there are some guys that just get off on giving women money.
I can't wait to be
losers.
that rich. I'm gonna be that rich.
I mean,
I'm
the
saying
thing-
it here and now.
Like I have a girl. We went on a couple dates. We remained friends. She's a stripper and a dominatrix, and she was telling me that there's a guy that literally she goes, I need money, and he goes, okay, take my credit card, get what you want, and then mail it back to me, because she set the boundary that we will never meet up in person.
Wow, that's insane. I mean, it seems like two prongs of like a bad problem of like that guy's self-worth or whatever.
Well,
And then
I think
this
it
woman,
all
like,
goes back to
being
shame.
Right. Yeah,
Shame
that's
plays
a weird
such
thing.
an important
Yeah.
role in our psyche.
Wait,
and
but
our
why
development.
can't any of us just pretend to be that online and get some dude's money?
I mean, conceivably you could, but
I mean, that's incredibly morally corrupt.
Yeah.
But what if he never knows and he think he's getting off just the same and coming to the fake lady personality?
Oh,
we
you're
also know.
I don't know if I'd say insanely morally
We
corrupt.
also know
Maybe a
some-
little bit morally corrupt, but let's not get. There's a whole lot on top of that
We
gets
also know
worse.
some women who do this too, like and
Yeah.
and I'm just like, man, they couldn't like. I would spend my money on somebody hotter, like if you're like,
Wow.
I mean, because they tell me how much
Yeah,
money
but
they
it's
make,
not
and I'm like,
all looks. A lot of it's personality too, or like
also,
someone that
I would
reminds
still
them.
pick somebody.
I think all my friends that are sex workers are beautiful and have great
I'm just kidding.
personalities.
They're amazing people. Book me on your show.
No, I just like like you said, it's work, and I like to see people putting in the work.
I just
Really.
think it's a weird thing of like, I mean, it's just more of like a what a society ascribes as being like a moral crime versus something that's actually societally impactful.
I mean,
Well,
and
that's
it's
how they looked at drugs and addiction,
Yeah.
because it's a moral failing, and that
Right.
you know you're wrong and everything, and you know, like I firmly believe they should, you know, legalize all drugs, prostitution, but in a very like step down unit safe way for people to get help and get out of that cycle if they so desire.
Right. It's the type of thing that agreed should be legal, but if it's out of control,
It
it's
should be a
because
legal open air market.
Right. There should be something where you're not just like soliciting 12-year-olds walking down the street because hooking is fine or whatever.
No, it should be like a housing place with like a management system.
Right, I mean,
an
we don't even
administrative
allow-
how it is
system.
in
Australia
Amsterdam.
and Amsterdam.
and
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Singapore. Even Singapore, prostitution is legal like that.
Right.
I will say though, and I've a whole chunk about this, about how like there's such this push to normalize sex work, and sex work is work, and it's like, cool, can we normalize the fucking losers that get the sex work? Can we normalize that?
Right.
You
Right.
know,
People-
can we make it normal to purchase the sex work, because all those guys are looked upon as like Aspergery morons.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Right,
but it's
yeah.
like your economy wouldn't exist without us.
Right. But also, like,
That's why they put us on this
Well,
side of the
I think
table.
you destigmatize the work, you destigmatize the customer.
No, I've done that
No?
before, and there are feminist women in the crowd. They're like, no, they're disgusting.
the women
They're
are
blah.
heroes and you're a piece of shit.
That's and I'm like, wow, man, your relationship must suck, dude.
It
Yeah.
takes two to tango, right? You just can't.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
can't have it without the other way around.
Totally, but there's this idea that like one of them is good and the other is bad, but it's necessary in order for you to be good.
Right. But ideally, you still build the type of society where you don't have people going into it out of a desperation.
Right, but society isn't built
Right.
on idealism, it's built on reality. And the reality is we
Yeah.
got fucked up laws, and we're not going to
Yeah.
be able to like address it societally until we decriminalize it to that extent.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we've done a pretty good job here. And
solved
with
the
that
issue.
note, I give sex work 5 bears out of 5.
I give having to do it 0 out of 5, but if it's by choice and you're an empowered woman, 5 out of 5.
Or
if
empowered
you're
man.
I'm
No,
like I said, I'm a
fuck
fan of.
Look at Derek through and through, still trying to get booked in Brooklyn.
He never stopped.
I think that ship has sailed.
You've got a better chance of booking work as a male sex worker.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do
Someone
it.
with a Shrek fetish for sure.
They can get in there. You can
Remember
make
how
some
we talked
money.
about shame?
I am personally a huge fan of sex work, so I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 too. I think that's a great. I think it's a goods and services for money. That's
I
free
think you
market
guys are
economy.
bigots. I give it a 10 out of 5. But, you know, sure, whatever.
Well,
Sweet.
thanks for hanging out with us.
Dude,
Uh,
this was so
Ian
great. It was
Fidance,
an
this
honor
is
to be
great.
the first guest. Thank you
Yes.
guys so much for asking me.
Honor
This
to
is so
have
much
you.
fun. I appreciate
What's
it.
your?
Thank
Where
you.
can they find you? Where's all your stuff?
You can find me at ianimal69 on Instagram, Twitter,
Oh, perfect.
and Twitch. I Twitch all the time. Follow me on Twitch, sub on Twitch, twitch.tv/ianimal69. You can hear me on SiriusXM, Ian's Infinite Playlist every Friday, channel 99. And bye, guys, on Gas Digital every Thursday at 11 a.m.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks
man.
bud.
Thank you. This is so awesome, man. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, man.